And my reasons are quite simple. So a few days ago, I made a video about coffee dates, and I basically talked about how I would never accept a coffee date as a first date. I think it's low effort and it's just not my thing. Surprisingly enough, and I was genuinely surprised, 98% of the commenters and the people that were upset were American Black men. So shocked because I didn't think that video would land on their For You page, but it did, and hundreds of them, were crying on my shoulder over the fact that I would not drink bean juice on a first date with a man or with anyone. They were in my comments calling me all types of names, saying that I'm a gold digger and saying that I'm this and that. And then unprovoked, they started attacking me for my looks. By the way, I was so nice in that video. I did not insult anyone in that video, but they were insulting me. They were coming at me for my skin color, saying that I'm too dark and that I shouldn't have any standards. They were coming at me for my Afrocentric features. They were coming at me because I have an Afrocentric hairstyle in. Black American men honestly have this habit of attacking Black women for the way that they look, especially if you are a darker skinned woman or you have more Afrocentric features. They will attack you. So the fact that they came at me for my looks unprovoked is not surprising to me at all. So reading the comments and watching the stitches, it brought up a discussion between me and my parents about why I don't date American Black men. American Black men generally do not value courtship, traditionalism, or even marriage. And I'm not saying that all American Black men are like this, but a large majority are. They will berate you, break you down, and take advantage of you. I don't know why, but the sight of seeing a Black woman, a dark-skinned Black woman, having standards really does bother them. Maybe it's because in their mind, nobody ever talks about this, but they believe Black women, dark-skinned Black women, deserve crumbs. Colorism is real, and they think that we deserve crumbs and that we shouldn't have any standards. I mean, I was getting so many messages and comments saying, "You're dark-skinned, why do you have all these standards?" The only reason why that video got them really upset was because it basically told them to do better. And they do not take well at all to being told to do better, as you can clearly see. And it's because they are not required to. They are used to giving women nothing, giving women crumbs, but then receiving the world back. So when they were watching my video, they were so upset. They were like, "Oh, no. You want me to take you on a proper date? A proper date when all I'm used to is inviting women back to my house, or inviting women on a nature walk as a first date, or inviting women to my car to link and smoke? You want me to actually put in effort? No, I'm not used to that at all." They're literally in my comments saying, "What makes you think you deserve a meal? You need to prove yourself." And when American Black men say that you need to prove yourself, that just basically means you need to go through hell and back with him. They don't want to put in the effort because they're lazy, they are entitled, and they are cheap. And don't get me wrong, it's not all American Black men that are like this. It's just the large majority. And that is a problem because the majority of Black American women prefer Black American men, but there are not enough good Black American men to go around.
Uchi, thank you for waiting patiently, ma'am. Please say your age and go ahead. The floor is yours. But before you speak, Uchi, guys, please tap the screen to 10K. Okay. If y'all get to 10K, I won't ask y'all to, I haven't even asked y'all to tap the screen. I don't even care. I haven't been on this app since October of last year. Humblezilla, thank you for the gifts, brother. Please tap the screen to 10K and please comment what city you're from in the chat. Okay. I'm trying to see something. Please tap the screen to 10K and comment what city you from. I'm trying to see something. Go ahead, Uchi. The floor is yours.
Okay, so So yeah, thank you for playing the video because I think that really spoke for itself. All she did was say that she does not really want to go on a coffee date. Like, okay, that's okay. But the fact that she received so many negative, hateful comments about her looks, about her skin color, it just seems to me that those men have self-hatred within them. So why would anybody want to date, any Black woman want to date a man who's going to then project that same self-hatred onto her, as if the fact that she's dark-skinned means she should not have standards? So what do you guys expect her to do? Bleach her skin? Like, do you not realize how detrimental and harmful that is to say to a woman? just because she doesn't like coffee dates. Like, everybody likes what they like. Okay, I'm not gonna judge her for that. Me, I mean, I've never been on a coffee date, but I like to go to dinner. I like to go to museums. I like to do something interactive and fun. But I mean, that's just me. But there should not be an expectation that because she's dark skinned, she should not have standards. Like, that's crazy to me. What does that really say about these men and how they view themselves and the women that are around them, the women that they come from also? That is the biggest red flag to me as to why she is totally justified in every single point she made. Like, why would anybody want to date somebody who has actively told you that you're not enough because of your skin color? You shouldn't have standards. You should bleach your skin, basically. I mean, it's really disgusting. I
Okay.
don't think
Oh, I'm
that,
sorry.
well,
Go
I
ahead.
wasn't finished. You let people speak for
Yeah,
10
yeah,
minutes.
go ahead.
I don't think that this is an issue of, oh, well, every race does this and every. No, it's colorism. And it's internalized white supremacy that these black American men are projecting. They have learned from this society that dark skinned people don't deserve anything. And then they continue it by projecting it onto the women around them. And her being an African woman, probably first generation in this country, she just got here. Like, she's just saying, like, oh, I don't like coffee dates. Like, she's not really, I mean, she did say she expected that kind of response, but still, it's like, why does that garner that response? Because she doesn't like coffee dates. Like, all you have to do is not take her on a date. You can just go find the women that also enjoy the same type of things you enjoy. But why was there hatred and colorism attached to her having standards? That is the issue here. Because, okay, maybe not all other men will say that. Like, you won't see white men, you won't see Indian men, Asian men commenting on her page saying, because you're dark skinned, you should not have standards. You only see black men doing that. That is the issue. Black men have self hatred. They've been taught to hate themselves and to hate their skin. And instead of just saying, you know what, the only way I will respect you is if you had light skin, they don't want to say that outright. They don't want to say exactly how they truly feel. Is no, I will only give you that respect, that courtship that you think you deserve if you have light skin. And the other women who came in and other ethnicities who said what they had to say, that's totally different to me. It's like, this is an issue within the black community of self-hatred and colorism. Because she never really said you didn't play the original video, I wish you did, but she never said in the original coffee video anything about black Americans. She didn't say anything about black American people, about African people, nothing. She just said, I don't like coffee. And then people came onto her page to hate on her, and she realized that they were black American men who were the ones with that sentiment. So that's why she said what she said. The original post had nothing to do with black American men. So I don't know why there's this victimization of black men as if they didn't attack her first. They literally attacked her first for having a preference or a standard to what kind of dates that she'll go on. So why are they now trying to play the victim? Because she called it out. And I'm sure she was afraid to even call it out. So it's like, you guys want her to be silent while you're abusing her, while you're attacking her. She can't say anything, even if it's correct, even if it's true, because she's a dark-skinned woman, because she's an African woman. I find it to be so disgusting. I think you can date whoever you want to date. Date people who will go on coffee dates. Don't get mad at somebody for having that standard that maybe she doesn't like coffee. Like, maybe she'd rather get drinks. Like, I don't know. At the end of the day, it shouldn't be that visceral of a reaction. Why was there so much hatred thrown at her for simply saying she doesn't like coffee dates? If it was a white woman who said that, black men would have been silent. There wouldn't have been any black men in the comments. If it was an Asian woman who said that, like, you know what I mean? But because a dark-skinned woman has standards in 2024, that's upsetting. Like, I don't know. I just don't feel like you guys are even discussing the colorism issue. Like, that issue is deep-rooted within the black community. And someone's saying I talk too much. I'm just saying the truth.
No, you're fine. So I have one question before we move on to the next person, Uchi. So have you do you have a lot of experience dating American black men?
I've dated one American black man before.
What was that experience like for you?
Well, I grew up with a standard of expecting to be courted, so he took me out on dates. He planned really thoughtful dates. He would take me to the beach. He would do picnics. He would take me stargazing. We would go. I mean, I like to hike. I like mountains. He did too. We had a lot in common. I never had that issue with him because he brought. He came from a family that he came from a family that actually taught him how to court women, and I dated him for like a year, so I met his family and everything, and I didn't have an issue with him. I didn't have an issue with that, so that's just me.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know if you have girlfriends or I don't know. I mean, what have you heard like women, not just black women, just whatever, just women in general? Have you heard them echo the same sentiments that the woman in this video said about American black men?
Honestly, no. I would only see this type of sentiment on the internet in response to the black men hurling hatred at, like, in this situation she was responding to black men who had some negative things to say about her. So why are you not like, why aren't you pointing that out? Why aren't you pointing out the fact that she simply said I don't like coffee dates, and she received colorist response from black American men with self hatred, internalized white supremacy, all of that, as if she should not have standards. That's my issue in this situation. Because, like, dating is literally, it's interpersonal. It goes down to it's individual. Every person's going to have a different experience, right? Like you said earlier. But in this case, the black men were telling her, no, you're not light skinned enough to get this type of treatment. That's the issue that we should be discussing. But nobody wants to talk about colorism for some reason.
Okay, Uchi, is there any last words you want to say pertaining to this before we move to the next person?
Yeah, why do you keep like negating the colorism issue that was brought up? Like, do you agree with the sentiments that since she's dark skinned, she should not have standards?
No,
Okay, then why aren't you talking about that? Because that's why she made this response.
because
Because,
I'm not here to talk about colorism. I'm here to talk about women's experiences dating American black men.
and you don't think colorism has something to do with those experiences at
I don't,
all?
I don't, I don't date men. That's why I have a panel of women up here telling me about their experiences dating American black men. I don't date men. I don't know what it's like to date a man.
Oh my God. Like, I'm asking you if you see colorism within your own community. You don't have to date
Of
a
course,
black
there's
man.
colorism within the black community. Who doesn't
So,
see that?
okay, so that's the issue here. It's not the fact that, okay, black men are not going to give this woman what she wants, because she didn't ask specifically for black men. She just said, I don't like coffee. Why did black men then come into her comments, making it about the color of her skin, saying that she should not have standards because she's dark skinned? Why is that not being talked about here? I mean, that's the issue to me. Like, I
But
don't
I
really
can't. I
see.
can't speak for the black men that did that, Uchi. I wasn't in her comments saying that.
Okay,
I
but it
will
seems
I
like you're
will
in
say
support of
I
that.
will
If you
say
don't come
that
out and say anything against it, it seems like you're supporting that sentiment.
I
And
will
it
say
seems like
that
you're victimizing these black American men as if they didn't attack her first, as if she should not have the
exactly.
right to respond. She should have the right to respond if people are attacking her, right?
Go ahead, see, and then we're gonna go to Rita.
No, I was just gonna say that. I mean, colorism does play a role in our dating experiences as Black women. Like it does play a role. I think that it's just like a very. Are you African?
Are you asking me?
No, I'm asking Uchi.
I'm Nigerian.
You're Nigerian?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do feel like colorism within the Black community specifically, it is something that is like known about. It is something that is kind of, I will even go as far as to say it's something that is normalized, like, to be honest with you. I don't think colorism is unique to our community. Colorism is worldwide, but we do experience a very specific version of colorism that is deeply rooted in white supremacy. But I will say that, like, I think that the reason why I didn't go that direction in the conversation is because we were more so talking about the issues surrounding dating and courtship as opposed to like colorism specifically. And I think that,
do you think colorism has something to do with dating and courtship?
100%. And I plugged the book. I plugged
the
the book earlier. It's called Black Woman, Black Love: America's War on American Black Marriage, African American Marriage. And colorism is definitely something that affects you in dating. And I will say that I have a lot of dark skinned friends. I'm brown skinned. My mother is dark skinned. And they have different dating experiences. And I will 100% agree with that. That is something that is just a part of our daily experience. Colorism, featureism is a huge part of how you experience dating. And I will even say like, if you do see a lot of the interracial relationships, a lot of my friends who are married to white men and men that are outside of the race, not just white men, they usually do have stronger Afro features. They're darker, they have kinkier hair, wider nose, bigger lips, like, because they typically didn't have good experience within our own community. But it's something that we like, that's a part of our daily lives. Like, colorism is something that we experience and that we live with every single day. Like, and it's one of the factors that make dating hard for Black women specifically.
Okay, one second. Uchi, I'm gonna have you please. I'm gonna Uchi, Christina, and C. And we're gonna start with you, Uchi. Then we're gonna go to Christina. Then we're gonna go to C. I want y'all to, like, please give y'all last words. And then I am going to rotate y'all out the panel.
I also thought it was my turn.
Yeah, you're gonna speak after C.
I actually do think that I am paid the most on this panel to speak or to breathe.
Go ahead, Uchi.
Okay, sorry. So just to close it off, right? I think that we need to look more into the colorism issue when it comes to this dating. Okay? The reason why she made that response was because a lot of Black American men came at her for her looks and the color of her skin, saying she should not have standards. Like, that's really harmful. Like, what do you guys expect her to do? Go and bleach her skin or something? Like, that's the sentiment that you're giving.
Isn't that what your community does, though? Because I don't think that's in your profile picture. That's what your community does.
If I were to make a post saying, like, oh, I don't like coffee dates, and a bunch of Nigerian men came under my comment saying you shouldn't have standards because you're too dark, then I would address that. But the fact of the matter is that African American men were being colorist towards her. They were attacking her, and she has every right to respond. Like, that's it. If it was Nigerian men, she can also do that. If it was Asian men, she can do that. It just happened to be African American men, right? And why is that the case? We don't see any other race of men coming under Black women's comments saying that you can't have standards.
Yeah, now you're right.
Ryder, you're about to speak. Please let them get through so we can get to you.
I'm done.
Please mute your microphone. Okay, thank you, Uchi. I appreciate you being here. You have a good night. Miss Christina, go ahead. Thank you for being here.
Hey, I didn't really have anything else to add. I was just listening to the conversation, and thank you for letting me say my piece.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you. You have a good night. Okay, see, go ahead and give your last words. Thank you for being here. But I want to ask you a question because I want you to speak on this. Is there a difference between someone being colorist and someone having a preference? Because you talked about, colorism being a big factor in Black women's dating experiences. I think it's also a big factor in Black men's dating experiences. If we just want to talk about dating within the Black community. Just like you, I'm caramel complexion. Like I'm like shining milk chocolate. I'm not dark skinned. I'm not light skinned. But you know, people even within the Black community, for whatever reason, some people have preferences. I don't have preferences. I like, you know, light skinned chocolate. I like caramel chocolate like myself. I like dark skinned chocolate. I don't care about color like that. But what is there a difference in it? Like, is there a problem with, you know, like you're a caramel person, you know, what do a lot of women say? Oh, I like a dark skinned nigga with dreads, or I like a caramel nigga, or I like a light skinned nigga. Like, is there a problem with people having a preference?
Well, I personally believe that there is no, like, if the preference is rooted around featureism and like, but I'll stick it to colorism. Like, if your preference is rooted in the color of someone's skin, I think that there is no colorism. I believe that we all have a job to interrogate our own preferences and understand, one, where this preference came from, what it's rooted in, and how it's playing out in the way that we treat people around us. And to me, to have a preference of someone who was lighter skinned and you were somebody who never even thought about why that might be your preference, that is an issue, because racism is so internalized, and the idea of beauty being so attached to whiteness, and as close as whiteness as you are, you have to really interrogate, why is it that I'm attracted to this specific feature, her having lighter skin or him having lighter skin, curly hair, softer, and features that are not as Black as what we would deem Black features. So I think that we all have a responsibility to interrogate our preferences and to understand if they are rooted into racism. And if you don't do that, I do believe that you are just blindly aligning yourself with colorism, and it is dangerous. And a lot of men, I don't feel like they put that much thought into it. Well, I just like them light skin. I just like the curly hair because they wear their regular hair. They don't got to put on no wig. But you're not understanding the message that you might be sending to your community. Because I think that with colorism, we like to really like just avoid the impact that it has on our community. But it has a deep impact on our community, the same way that racism does. So, and I don't want to say just men, because women do it too. Like, they do have preferences that are aligned. You know, some of them prefer light-skinned men, but I do think that we have a job to interrogate that. And if it's not something that is rooted in something that's healthy, then 9 times out of 10, you are playing into racism and colorism. And it can be damaging to your community and to the people, and maybe even the family that's close to you. You know, like, you have to think about how, you don't have to, but think about how that might affect daughters you raise, or your sisters who might be dark skinned and they're still single, but you only date women that are out, that don't look like them. You know, like, it has an impact. And I think that we cannot fake and act like it doesn't, as much as we want to say it doesn't.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't.
No, I'm not saying that you said that specifically.
I know, but I just also need you to acknowledge, if you're gonna say that is like that's a big factor in the dating experience of Black women, I think you also need to say that, you know, it's a big factor in the dating experience of Black men, because just as men, and I agree with everything you said. I do think that's weird. I do think, because I've never been that way. I've never been like, oh, you know, I'm only gonna go for this type of Black person. Like, that's kind of weird to me. But but look, I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Girl, yes, it is a C show.
Okay?
Let me stop.
You have a good night, okay?
You too. Thanks.
All right.